Buenos dias und herzlich willkommen bei Gate 7, deinem Podcast über Fernweh und Fotografie. In dieser Show geht es um Menschen, für die Reisen mehr ist als Spaß und Erholung. Freue dich auf praktische Tipps und Tricks, wie du tief in fremde Kulturen eintauchst und lerne, deine Abenteuer in bewegenden Bildern festzuhalten, egal mit welcher Kamera. Bist du bereit? Dann los, lass uns abheben mit deinem Gastgeber, Kai Beermann.
In dieser Episode nimmt uns die spanisch-französische Fotografin Catalina Martín Chico mit in den Regenwald von Ecuador. Dort hat sie einige Wochen bei den Kichwa in der Ortschaft Sarayacu am Rio Bobonasa im ecuadorianischen Teil Amazoniens verbracht. Ungefähr 1200 Einwohner leben dort nach alten Traditionen, aber auch die Moderne hat mittlerweile Einzug gehalten in diesen abgelegenen Ort. Wie alle Menschen, die in diesen durch Urbanisierung und industrielle Ausbeutung erodierten Tropenwäldern leben, kämpfen auch die Kichwa für den Erhalt ihrer Lebensweise. Die Bedrohungen, denen sie sich ausgesetzt sehen, sind dabei vielfältig. Zum Beispiel: Die Brunnen zur Gewinnung des im Walduntergrund erhaltenen Öls gefährden das Wasser und die Wasserqualität, gefährden aber auch die Artenvielfalt und die Gesundheit der Waldbewohner. Catalina hat sich aufgemacht, um die Kichwa zu besuchen und ist mit ihrer Kamera tief in den Alltag der Menschen eingetaucht. Sie lebte mehrere Wochen in Sarayacu, um die Identität der Kichwa und ihren Kampf zu verstehen. Sie teilte das Leben mit dem Stamm, der sich noch komplett selbst versorgt. Alle Ressourcen, die die Menschen zum Überleben brauchen, finden sie durch Jagen und Sammeln im Regenwald. Voraussetzung dafür ist ein umfassendes und tiefes Wissen über die Natur. Catalina Martín Chico ist spezialisiert auf Reportagen mit Schwerpunkt auf Südamerika und eben auch solche Geschichten, die sie immer wieder an ganz entlegene Orte bringt. 2019 erhielt sie einen World Press Award für ihr Langzeitprojekt über die Frauen der Guerillakämpfer der FARC in Kolumbien. Dieses Gespräch ist schon eine ganze Weile her. Geführt habe ich es im vergangenen Jahr im August am Rande des Fotofestivals Lagacy Baden Foto in Österreich. Ja, dabei sind eine ganze Reihe von Interviews entstanden. Die Links dazu findest du in den Shownotes unter www.gate7.de, 7 ausgeschrieben, nicht als Zahl, und dann /Catalina-Martin-Chico. In den Shownotes findest du natürlich auch den Link zu Catalinas Webseite sowie zu ihren Social-Media-Profilen. Apropos Fotofestival, auch in diesem Jahr laden Lois Lammerhuber und seine Mitstreiter wieder nach Baden ein. Von Juni bis Oktober sind im Kurpark von Baden die Ausstellungen zu sehen, Open Air auf großflächigen Tafeln. Der Schwerpunkt liegt dann auf den nordischen Ländern. Und wenn du im August dort vorbeischaust, genauer gesagt vom 19. bis zum 21., dann lass es uns wissen, denn Thomas und ich werden auch vor Ort sein und ja, eine wunderbare Gelegenheit, sich dann mal die Bilder der dort ausgestellten Fotografinnen und Fotografen aus nächster Nähe und in voller Größe anzuschauen. Ja, und bevor es jetzt gleich wirklich losgeht, noch ein letzter Hinweis. Am kommenden Mittwoch, dem 30. März 2022, bin ich ab 20 Uhr bei Thomas Jones in seinem YouTube-Kanal zu Gast. Dann berichte ich ein bisschen, was ich in den vergangenen Wochen fotografisch hier in Buenos Aires getrieben habe. Einblicke in meine Reportagefotografie anhand eines Beispiels, einer Reportage, die ich vor kurzem im Stadtviertel La Boca gemacht habe. Gleichzeitig lernst du dabei auch ein bisschen das kennen, was wir ja in Sachen Storytelling, Reportage und Street Photography bei Abenteuer Reportagefotografie machen. Falls du das Projekt noch nicht kennst, schau auch da mal vorbei, abenteuer-reportagefotografie.de. Der Link dazu sowie der Termin zum YouTube Live natürlich ebenfalls in den Shownotes. So, jetzt geht's aber wirklich los mit dem Interview mit Catalina Martín Chico. Viel Spaß! Hello, Catalina. Thank you very much for taking the time here to talk about your work. We are inside the garden park here, and it's an exhibition in the open space, open air exhibition. You have shown your work in many places, and Baden is very special in the sense that it's integrated all over the city, the display of the pictures. What is it like for you to see your work displayed in this unique way?
Yeah, I like it very much because it's really a work about nature, and the exhibition is really in the middle of the trees. So it's kind of melting the picture with their own context. Even if it's not the same context, it fits perfectly. So we enter very much more in the subject, I think, when you just walk and you are surrounded by green and the pictures are green. So I think it's a beautiful, layout. I don't know how to say it, but yeah.
We already talked a little bit about your background. You are French, Spanish, and the focus of your work is mainly on South America. You have spent lots of time there covering Colombia issues there, and now you're here represented with a work that you did in Ecuador. How did this come about?
The work of Ecuador, you mean? This is an assignment, actually, of Yves Rocher's foundation that supported several projects around the world. So they sent 9 photographers in 9 different countries to document the projects they support about planting trees in different communities. So I got in touch with these people of Sarayacu in the Amazonian Ecuador through them. So that was the easy part for me, to already have a contact with them. So I went there 10 days, 2 weeks, and then I lived with them in the community, and I documented the traditional way of living and what they represent in the world. So then it's nothing to do with the project of planting trees, but just documenting the community, actually.
Mm-hmm. Here at this festival, the one focuses on Latin America, Viva Latina, and then there's biodiversity as well, like all issues along climate change. And you're dealing also in this project with a matter of climate change, not only from the perspective of the vanishing of flora and fauna and destroying our nature, but also what it means for humans who live inside areas that are in danger of vanishing, indigenous people. Tell us a little bit about it. You said that you had a contact to go to these people. It's not a place that you walk in just like that as a photographer with your camera around and start taking pictures. It takes a lot of preparation. It takes a lot of skill from your side to get accepted by the people and for them to open up to you. Can you explain a little bit how you go about an assignment like that?
Yeah, exactly. I think the main part of a subject is all the things you do before you go first, like having access, getting in touch, be sure to reach them, because it's very remote areas. I mean, there's no roads to go there, so you cannot just drop by, So then when the contact is made and the access is okay, and you walk and you go by car and you go by boat and you walk hours under the rain and you arrive in the community, then there's another challenge, which is exactly to be accepted, because what I like in my photography is just try to be the more transparent I can, which is not easy because we are always outsiders of the thing, but to be really close to them, intimate if I can, and not only taking pictures outdoors, taking pictures of their life, their daily life. So to reach these, you need time and acceptance, So I think being Spanish in South America is an asset, because I don't need any translator, so I can go on my own and then be a little less invasive, because if you are 2, 3 foreign person in a house, it's, for me, it doesn't work. You cannot have intimacy with this, So then you take time before taking your first picture. You connect with the people, and you try to gain trust, kind of, you try to be genuine. And if you are genuine, they are genuine to you, I think. And so it's an exchange or something human going on, So.
Yes. You said it was quite a trip to get to these people. How long did it take? You said first by car, then by boat, and then through the forest. How remote is the place?
I don't remember exactly, but maybe 6 hours first, and then 2 hours, and then 2 hours walk, and maybe 1 or 1 hour and a half boat, something like this.
Yeah. Takes time to get there. And how many days did you spend?
Maybe around 10-ish days, 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but enough time to really settle in and first not focus on the photography, leave the camera aside a little bit, get to know the people, and then get into their daily lives, which takes us to a couple of pictures you took here. I tried to take a picture later on and put it to the podcast episode on the internet so people listening to this can have a look at the pictures maybe as well to give some context, but we tried to explain it as detailed as possible. So these are a number of pictures taken in the homes of the people, very intimate images of daily activities, of eating, of playing. There's children relaxing in a hammock, a guy there. Just a very good overview, I think, that we can expand a little bit on what you touched on, that you have to gain the trust and somehow become a part for this short time that you spent there.
Yeah, exactly. It's for example, in a moment in my stay, at the beginning you take pictures, you try to get connection with the people, and after a while you work also. So you think visually, how I'm going to tell the story visually. Do I have the different situations that are telling what I'm witnessing? So sometimes you miss a situation, so you try to go for it. For example, after a while, I thought, okay, I'm taking pictures of children, I'm taking pictures of grown-ups, of parents. Where are the teenage? Where are the young people before they get married? I don't see them. So I start looking for them. So here I have pictures of a teenage, like brushing her hair in the morning before going to high school. And I thought this was a difficult picture to have, for example, because they were kind of invisible, the teenage. And I tried to look for them in the school, in high school, trying to talk to them. Where you guys meet, where you gather. I wonder in a little community like this, how they, couples start, or I don't know. So it was funny just to look for the situations also, which were invisible, and trying to get close to them. So this is part of the work,
Yeah, the pictures evolve, and they come like things that you haven't thought of before. Then you get this idea, and okay, you go after that. How many people do live in this community?
1,400. It's a community made of 7 centers, 7 communities, and in the total is 1,400. So I was staying in one of the communities. Very often I prefer not get scattered. Okay, you think, okay, I need to document all the communities, but you have, a limited amount of time. Sometimes one is an assignment. Which is the good thing about personal projects, when you deal with your time and it's like, okay, I can stay 2 weeks in each community and do the 7 communities, but in assignment it's shorter, so you have to plan. And I often prefer not to get scattered and focus in one community, or maybe in 2-3 families, just because we were talking about the trust and gain, and try to be transparent. If you come and consume photography, kind of, okay, I come, I take pictures today and then I leave tomorrow. I think all is a pity, because gaining trust and just being there with my camera, and they forget the camera after a while. Not the first day, but the second day, the third day, the fourth day is when work starts being, interesting. So that's why here I focused in one community and in several families. And then I could just, on my own, go from one family to the other and just drop by the house. Hi, how are you? And take a hot coffee and follow them. Oh, you're going to school. Can I go with you? Or, you're gonna prepare food. I'm gonna prepare food with you. And then you take pictures and prepare food at the same time and learn things about the community, So it's a work, and at the same time you make friends, kind of, it's a real connection. So it's genuine. It's not just consuming a little bit of their moment. It's sharing also. It's sharing.
Mm-hmm. Where did you stay?
They have a little house. At the beginning I came with a botanist who was writing about the nature and the trees and everything, and then the botanist left to another place, and I decided to stay on my own, just to make more connection. So the first part of the trip with the botanist, we were in a little house, kind of a little guest house near their place. And then when the botanist left, I stayed at the family's house. I invite myself sometimes. It's like, oh, I don't want to stay alone. And can I be with you? So I live with them. And yeah, they are very open. They open doors easily in South America. And in all the places except Western world is more difficult. But so I live with them. And so there's where I can actually have the moments before breakfast, before going to sleep, and the relaxing moments where we chat. And this is the best moments, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, you get even closer living with the people. And what you touched on before, like not getting too scattered if you have a big topic or a big area, region, not to distribute your focus on too many things, but go in focused on one thing, and you can tell a bigger story by going into the details as well, right?
Exactly. I think in my work now, lately, these last years, I try to focus that way. I think it's maybe more interesting to choose one person that will symbolize, like their small story will symbolize the big story, you know. So even in Colombia, for example, I follow few women, ex-fighters, and they will tell the bigger story of the country and of the post-guerrilla, post-conflict thing, you know. So it's always put inside one person the whole story, you know. Yeah. I think it's interesting that way.
Yeah, it's easier for other people to relate to that story. Like if you haven't been in that place and your job as a storyteller is to convey stories of places that normal people wouldn't go. And so it's more if you have a face connected with the issue, with the topic that you're trying to get across, it's much easier that way, right?
It's I don't know if it's easier or not, but I think that you create more empathy, and the person that read your story visually, they get a relationship with that person too. So if I follow that person for a few years or whatever, so we see the evolution, and even the person that see the exhibition or the publication creates a contact and knows that person has a name and a history. And so through the person and through the empathy, you can be more in their skin and understand more what the reality is. And I think in the word, empathy must be really, you know, we need more empathy. So we need to, I don't know the word in English, but it's like, it's a fact of getting identified also with the other human being and understand what they go through. And
yes. What can you tell us about the cultural context of these people? What are their origins? What are their beliefs? What is this community made of culturally?
Yeah, you know, it's a community that believes in Pachamama, in Mother Nature. They think that they have two principles, kind of. One is they think that the forest is alive, it's like a human being, and the other is live in harmony. So it's like two sentences, it's like their principles. So live in harmony in the community with the assembly and sharing all the information. And the other thing is the forest is alive and we take care of the forest as a human being. And they have all these traditional ancestor things, you know, where they live with medicinal plants. They celebrate the Pachamama days where they paint their faces with a plant, and where they have special dances. They have special sacred songs. They wake up in the morning with the nature, of course. So at 4 a.m. they wake up and they do this infusion of plants. And it's a really special moment because it's the moment they gather and they share their dreams. And so they tell each other what they dreamt. And at the same time is the moment where the children wake up, join the grown-ups, and the education is made, some advices. And then they have, for example, these traditional, we have a picture here, I can just tell about it, is we see a mother and 2 children, a boy and a girl, and they are smashing yuca. They make like a yuca puree, And they are making what they call the chicha. It's known in Ecuador, but in a lot of South American countries. It's a yuca that they chew. They smash the yuca, and the woman, not the boys, but the woman chew it. And with the saliva, then they split again, and they chew again, and they split again. And with the saliva of the woman, I don't know why of the woman, they create
fermentation?
Yeah, fermentation, exactly. They create fermentation, and then they put this in a pot, and it's cold, and it fermentates, and it becomes alcohol. And then we can see another picture where they drink this. This is the only drink they have cold in the Amazon, and the welcoming drink. We offer a tea or a coffee. They offer shisha, and so they can get drunk also with this. And I try it, but I have to admit that when I see that they were chewing and splitting, it was kind of weird. But this is a traditional drink, and traditional every 2-3 days. All the families. So you look in the community, which woman is gonna make chicha today? You know. So you hear in the Amazon, you hear boom 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 sometimes, because it's made with these big wooden sticks that they smash the yuca in a wooden pot, and so. You hear this and you go, oh, there's a woman doing chicha there. So you go and you try to take pictures of that. It's very interesting. So these are part of their traditional way. They have schools. They have a plane. Since 2014, there's a little plane that can come here, there to pick up people. So it's easier than going by boat and roads and walking. And for emergencies, then they hunt, of course, they fish, they plant, they plant food. So they are really living with what the earth gives to them. And I think it's very interesting when we talk about environment to talk about the communities that live in the environment and they protect the environment too. So it's not just a matter of natures. We are totally connected. What is happening to the planet is connected to the human being, and what can protect the planet is also the human being. So for me, talking about environment and environment goes really stick with people, you know, so I'm not a landscape photographer. I think human and nature are so connected that you cannot talk about one without talking about the other.
It's very interesting. These people, they once lived with very little contact, I imagine, to the outside world. And now, even though they live in a quite remote place, you see very modern elements in these pictures. You mentioned the airplane. They have the possibility to reach cities and get help. And you see a small child here with a mobile phone. You see the way they dress. They have jerseys of soccer teams. So there's communication with the outside world. What is the connection of these people to urban life? Let's call it that way. And what kind of view do they have of the world beyond their community?
I think we really fantasize kind of the indigenous people, you know. We think that they are really like unconnected, and they are really not very far from us, you know. I felt really comfortable living there. It's not that different. It's just you are in the nature, you don't have connection in your mobile. But of course, everybody has Nike t-shirts and mobile phones, and teenage want to watch Netflix and series and want to be on Instagram and Snapchat. They are the same teenagers, and they are really in the middle of something like keep on the tradition of how to deal with nature, what is the traditional, what is the how to hunt, how to fish, how to all this. And at the same time, they have schools, and the teacher in the schools are teachers that come from Quito. So they are teaching the national education program. And this is an issue. For example, I talk to them, you know, because it's important for them that they learn how to read, that they learn how to think, and to be able to, like the Western world kind of, because they need to fight also for their rights and to protect their the Amazon. So for this, they need to face the big petrol companies. They need to go to court. These guys went to court and won. So they are the resistance of the indigenous people. They are like on a symbol of this. And they could do that because they're people that know how to write, that they understand what's going on. They understand the laws. So you need that to fight for, that's what the weird thing is. Like, you need the Western education to be able to fight against the Western. And at the same time, you need to educate your children to make your traditions last generation through the generations. And they are kind of in the middle of this, It's kind of stupid to say like between tradition and modernity, but they are, because next generation, they really want to get connected. They do have, electricity with solar panels, some houses, so I could, charge my batteries from time to time with some hours. And near the school, they also have a Wi-Fi connection. They have 3 or 4 computers, and there's limited hours of they can get connected for school things. So imagine, So it's true that in my work, I decided to keep those images. I've been asked why you put images of the girl with the backpack with Frozen or Walt Disney movies or cell phones. And it's just because this is how it is, and we imagine indigenous people living like wild people. It's just in our fantasies, of Western people that want to get disconnected, but it's not the reality. So for me, my job is just grab reality and show reality to the people that fantasize about things, in the world. So I think it's very important to shake minds. And even if it's not romantic as you wish, is the way it is, So.
Yeah, you do a great work with these photos to show that the diversity, between old traditions living with nature and then these elements of modernity, technology coming into this world. And I imagine it's a dynamic process. You don't know how the young people growing up with these devices and seeing what's going on through Netflix, through all these things, if they decide in the end to follow that, to change their lifestyle, go to the cities, or to stay there and with their education try to preserve what they've inherited.
It's exactly this. I guess I don't know half, but a part of the teenage maybe will leave this place and go to study. If they want to go to college, they have to leave the community. Will they come back then after, This is the problem. I mean, this is why sometimes communities disappear,
You talk to many people, also to the teenagers. What are their dreams?
The teenagers, I didn't have a lot of contact with them. That's what I told you. It's like, it was kind of my goal, and they were more shy in front of the camera. It's an age where it's more difficult, kind of. But I guess they are mostly what I talked is attracted to the exterior life, and at the same time very much attached to their roots. So sometimes they think they will live to come back with this new knowledge and put this new knowledge to the service of the community. And maybe when they will get married and have children, come back home, but studied, elsewhere. So I don't know what will happen, because can you go out of your community and then come back? I don't know. There's this woman in a picture. We see a white woman. And she is an incredible woman. She's from Belgium. And she arrived there in a humanitarian mission in the Sarayacu people when she was 19 years old. And she fell in love with one of the indigenous people and guy. And she got married and had children and stayed there to live forever. So it's incredible because their children speak Kichwa and speak Spanish and speak French. So I guess that she is the one also moving a lot of things around to fight for the rights. And at the same time, she got totally adapted to their life. And she told me how hard it was because our body is not made to these temperatures, it's not made to all the insects. She fainted when she was working in the field with the heat, and she got all the insects biting and got infections, and she thought I'm very much in love with my husband, but I am able to stay here forever. My body is not adapted, like sunburns, because we are in the sun, we can put some cream, but when you stay to live there the whole year, you cannot put cream every day of the year, all the year. So she got a lot burnt. And so this is really an example that I like to talk about because it's amazing, So I don't know if the children visit Belgium and their family in Belgium, so these ones take the plane,
Exactly. Like now there's a even wider connection into the world, not just Ecuador, Quito, big city, but then go into Europe, Belgium, and
not all the members of the community do that, but her children went to Belgium, and so they bring another vision, more international, I guess, to the community. So it's not like different as we can imagine, but it's true that they live in communion with the nature. They go to pick up leaves from the trees. So some leaves are to cook the fish in and to make like an oven. Other leaves are to put in the floor and isolate the floor and sleep on the floor when you have to hunt and be sleeping in the nature. Other leaves are to make the roof. Other leaves, every leaf and every part of the nature has a use, and of course you walk with them and it's amazing. They suddenly cut a little plant and they put a liquid in your eyes. Come here, put the liquid in your eyes. It's very good for your eyes and your vision. And it's just a plant in the middle of the Amazon. And then you continue walking and they cut another thing and there are small ants. And it's like, try. It's like desert. They taste like lemon. And it's like, oh yeah. And suddenly they need, let's go for yuca for it. Let's go for fish for the food at lunch. And then another one goes for the plant for the oven. And the other one goes, and in half an hour they create a camp in the middle of the Amazon. The children cut the plants to make beds. And it's amazing, it's like, we are not able to do this. I mean, if we don't have our house, our bank account and our internet, we are, lost. Yeah. And they are not at all. They just have whatever they need around them.
Yeah. Fascinating way of life. Catalina, let's move on a little bit through the exhibition. There's some more pictures that take us now into the rainforest. We touched on your trips also, what you experienced there with the different remedies that they get from plants and what they do with them. Let's I don't know where to start. Where it's also a playing ground, of course, for the kids. There's one picture of kids jumping into the water. Tell a little bit about your experiences outside of the community, going more into nature. What was that like?
Anyway, you are in nature all the time, because even when you are indoors, the houses have no doors and no windows. So it's like just wooden houses, a little bit high because they live really next to the river. And so the river sometimes in the raining season, expand a little bit. So they are a little bit in the high, and there's only wood and no windows, no doors. So it's just the mosquito nets protecting you from the insect at night. So you are even at the middle of the night, you hear all the noises, you smell all the smells. So you are always outside, actually. And then the forest, of course, the river is very important in their lives because they bring food, and the children, when they go out to school, they have a little bridge to cross, and each time they cross the river, which is pretty high, they just jump in the water, and it's the playground of all the children being in the trees and jump from the trees to the water all the time, of course, and go to the to the trees and take flowers. I mean, all the games are around this, The children also take a lot of tasks from home. It's very, it's not only the parents working. All the children, this is different. Here in our culture, the parents deal with everything and the children go to school and play. There they go to school, they play, but they also have to go to the river to wash the clothes of the day every day. They have to go and grab food in the Amazon. They go to grab plants. So they work. It's as a community also, even in early age, they are part of the community tasks kind of. So we can see here 2 pictures of the children that they go and clean all the clothes of the family, Of course, showers are in the river too, so there's where I used to go to take my shower. You put your towel in a tree and you wash with the river. It's amazing.
This is the image that you were talking about, or the backpack of the girl walking through the rainforest and having some, I don't know if it's Disney images, but on the back.
I don't know what you call in English. The name is Frozen, maybe the movie, or it's about a very snowy place with the queen of the snowy place. So it's weird first to have a really pink, girlish backpack in the middle of the rainforest, and at this which represent Walt Disney and all this Western world, and represent also all the ice in the middle of the Amazon thing that they cannot imagine what is to mean to be cold. This is conversation that we usually have with them that they don't understand. For example, like if I show a picture of my place, which I often do to share also, this is my food, what we used to eat, or this is what I see from my window. And to see, for example, empty trees without leaves, it's really something really weird for them. It's like, why they are dry, all your trees, because they don't understand why the leaves are not in the trees. In Amazon, there's always, So it was a funny picture. And this is also a question that somebody asked to me, why I keep these elements in my picture, maybe another photographer will say, no, I don't take a Nike t-shirt or a cell phone or a backpack of Walt Disney because it doesn't fit in this context. But
what was your answer to that question?
I think I don't want to modify, to change the reality. So what is interesting is what is real and not what we imagine reality is. And I think there's a big gap between the ideas you have in your office in Paris and sometimes the reality in the field. And if we try to make the reality in the field fit to those ideas, this is not photojournalism, And sometimes it's more, more romantic or more to fit these ideas and to go in the cliche we have. And for me, we have to shake those cliches and say, there are not wild people not knowing anything about anything, it's no, they have Nike t-shirts and they have maybe the same dreams as you, but they have other abilities that we don't have, that's for sure. So for me, a reality.
Do you find that an issue, or are there more like these discussions when you do commissioned work for a newspaper or something, that there's this preconceived idea of what kind of body of work they want, what kind of picture they want to fit the story? Or do you feel that most of the time you have this journalistic freedom?
I work mostly on ideas that I suggest. So I don't have that much this problem. But I know that the way you present your subjects, there's a way that is more commercial, more sellable, more sexy than other ways, If you go with the cliches, maybe it's more sellable than if you go against the cliches. And this is my personal fight, in my work. I like slow journalism, and this doesn't fit with the period we are living in. Everything is fast, it's Instagram, it's click, it's like, it's really short things. We need to have information in a short period of time. So, it's black and white. So there's no space for all the tonalities of gray that happens. And I think the world and the humanity everything is in the gray tonalities, and there's less space for this. And we are sent in assignment in short times, before, a few decades ago, they had like months to do a story, and then, weeks, and then now days. And now they want like a difficult story to be told in 3 days. Sometimes it's impossible. So what you have in 3 days, you have cliché, because this is, that this is what you have to bring back home. So you go, you don't have time to gain trust, you don't have time to understand what's going on, if it's real, the idea we have of the situation or not. So for me, this is a danger for the information, because we are photojournalists. The information is important, so we need to know what's going on to transmit it. If we don't have time to know what's going on, we won't transmit what is the reality, but we will transmit the idea we had in our office in Paris. So I try to do slow journalism, and so to earn grants and to spend more time, and to spend time with the people on the WhatsApp and the distance, and to make connections and to hear them and exchange audios and to understand. And all this is part of the process to be able to be legitimate to tell their story,
Yeah, it's so even more important in these days where polarization is getting bigger and bigger. People don't seem to understand themselves anymore. There's more division between people because, there's just not enough room to listen anymore. And so your approach with slow journalism, I think, is a very valuable contribution to that. And I really, really enjoy looking at also the work of the other photographers here who do the same, who work in this way. And just a side effect or observation with that, it's when you look at the Instagram profiles, for example, of you and your colleagues, you see you don't see these big numbers of other photographers who do this work that is catchy and that kind of feeds an algorithm. And all these amazing work, you don't get the attention that work like this deserves. I mean, I imagine that you're not, after looking at your Instagram account, and are sad that you have, I don't know how many followers, 10,000, 20,000. It's not an issue, but how do you look at these observations?
Yeah, you're right. I think it's like the same thing about the artist that creates a song that will work all the summer, and it's a shitty song, like technically or whatever, and the author that makes a really very technical and with the poetry inside, and they don't have that much success, So there's also in photography and photojournalism, commercial photojournalism and not author photojournalism. And we are in a period of time where I think that slow works, in-depth works, is not the time for this. People are too much in a rush, but we are a minority. But if this is the reason we make this job, I cannot do in another way, because it's a work of passion. It's a very difficult work. We have to say it's a precarious work, very difficult. When we have the chance to go in the field, it's a lot of work to have that chance to have a story produced. When we are in the field, we are happy to be in the field, but then it's complicated too. Sometimes it's dangerous, it's conflict situation, it's conditions of life that are tough. So all the process is kind of difficult. So if you don't really have a passion about it, forget about it, But so I cannot change why I do this job, because this is what fills me inside, But I have to admit that there's no space, and you're right. The best works are not the ones that have more followers and have more money and is more published. Not at all. It's just but we are kind of a minority, and maybe we affect a minority of people, and it's sad because the majority of people are affected sometimes with fake news or fake things, or very, as you say, very spectacular things. But what's behind this is not maybe fully reality. It's complicated to live in this industry, actually.
Yes. Yeah, so it's only a recommendation to have a look at these works, at these pictures. It's a great resource to get news and to get informed about the world outside of newspapers and big media outlets. I remember a talk from Pascal Maître. At the first night. He spent over 20 years covering Afghanistan, going back and forth there. This is, I think, a good example to illustrate that. Like, people now are wondering why it took only 10 days or 11 days for the Taliban to run over the country. But listening to a man like that who has all the background information is more worth than watching CNN and NBC.
Definitely. I mean, he knows the country for I don't know how many decades, since 85. He saw the evolution of it. He understands what's behind every movement. He understands the people. So who else is, who else can tell the story, Who else? Somebody that come 5 days and just show that they are there. It's really different, It's a slow process. And when you like a country, I mean, I'm not like Pascal Maître, but I started with Yemen, my photojournalism. And once I'm in Yemen the first year, I came back every year for 10 years. Because there are countries that are difficult to understand. It's not our language. We need to spend time. And that countries that have a lot of cliché. And so it's important, I think, to go beyond these cliches and to try to share with the people another side of the story, No, Yemen is not only terrorist people with very extreme Islamism, not at all, So, but that's what we want to think, and so it's the same old story.
Yes. Catalina, let's have another look at the pictures. Moving here towards the end of the exhibition, there's the last picture of the plane that you mentioned. There's airplane connection between this community and Quito and whatever other places outside the rainforest. What does this picture tell?
Yeah, it's telling what this transition where they are in. The plane is just coming since, 2014, so it's very recent. Children are still amazed because in the picture we see the plane and we see a child running after the plane. So they are amazed about this modernity, and at the same time where this plane is going to is also something they are very attracted to when somebody like me come in this kind of community. They have also a lot of questions. They look everything that I have in my pack, all the things that are different, and they love to hear, for example, that in my country now it's night and here it's day, and so you draw things in the floor to they understand that that the sun is in Ecuador and then it's night in France, or just understanding my cell phone, my camera, how does that work? And so a plane is just amazing also for them, But this is the mix between the two civilizations in this right moment. This plane doesn't go to Quito, but goes to Puyo, which is a little village. And from Puyo, Puyo is already like New York, And so, I mean, I think this image, I put it, even if I don't like it, like the composition or the light is not perfect, it's in the middle of the day. But I thought it was like a nice ending picture, because it goes maybe towards a future,
Yeah, it's kind of similar to this other picture of the girl with the backpack, because it has this contrast in it between modernity and their traditional life there. And that's something I'm very interested to know about. How do you go about these pictures? I mean, there are these kind of pictures that tell a little bit more, that have more depth and information you get from these pictures, and then there are other pictures that maybe don't convey this deep all around story, but are more of a moment that you captured there, a beautiful moment. How is the construction of your reportage and of a series like that? How do you go about that?
Actually, I didn't have like anything to prove. It was an easy storytelling because it was just being there and catch their daily life. So it's not that I have another story than this one to tell, you know. So that was easy. Once you have the access and the trust, I just have to live with them and catch moments, as you said, and these moments are kind of sweet moments of a lot of children. It's true. I realize that I have a lot of children because the children are spontaneous and they bring you. You know, they run, they play, and you can follow them, and they bring you in a lot of places of the forest that you wouldn't go with an adult that is doing other tasks. So I didn't have storytelling, especially storytelling, but just be there, catch the reality. Of course, I'm involved in this reality because it's my eyes, and so I guess I'm telling something about me, and at the same time they tell something about them, and it's the interaction of these two that make a photography, you know. So it's just small moments and the moments that were surprising for me. I was taking this moment, traditions that are surprising. So it's just you being in another world, and you know what surprises you or what brings you, or I don't know really. It's a pretty easy storytelling because I just had to document the community. So once you are there, the difficult part is being in touch with them, being accepted. And so I have to say that then it's just you and them, something happens, and pretty instinctive, I have to say.
When you talk to the photographers here at the festival, there's almost no mention of camera gear, camera settings in these contexts. So what are your thoughts about what makes a good storyteller? What skills do you need to have to make these compelling pictures, and what role does gear play in all this?
Gear, it's a tool as any other tool. So I mean, it has to do the job, you know. It has the tool. You need a tool that doesn't give any obstacles for me, you know. That is good at, you know, with strong light. Is good with low light. Is good at night. Is good at day. It's easy to manipulate. It's fast. Does well the autofocus. I mean, all these you have to. The gear is like you have to forget it. So if it's a gear that you don't forget because the manipulation is not okay, or the focus is not 100 reliable, or the ISOs are not 100 reliable at night, so you have to change gear. That's the only thing. The gear is here just for you to forget it. So after the storytelling is just then you have to focus on the storytelling and also on the I don't know, not the beauty of the picture, but somehow to make a strong picture. It's not only you have a situation, but what do you do with this situation? So the work is not only having different situations to give the information, but also work on this situation in a way that you will have the information and at the same time the composition and at the same time the emotion, the light, and you know, different things that make that one picture is better than the other ones, you know. So this is your focus. It's not finding the situations. It's one thing. So it's you need to have access to look for them, to try to understand which situations you need, what is the reality that you can put in pictures. So this is the first part of the work. Then when you have the situation, you work around, and sometimes you have the situation but no strong pictures, you don't edit afterwards and you leave it in your computer because you need to have strong pictures to show also, you know, to make that the information is more impacting. You need to have strong pictures to make this impact, you know. So how do you make the strong pictures with all the other elements? Some elements that you control, like composition, other elements that you control less, light, emotion, these kind of things.
Yeah, it's a very complex process to come to these pictures, moment, motive, composition, and all the different elements. Catalina, when you look at this work, what are the challenges of the people living in this particular community? What are the threats they are facing, and how do you envision their future?
Their challenges are that they are threatened. So they had, in this community, they still have dynamites under their soil, for example, that the big petrol companies put when they had the authorization by the Ecuadorian government to go and explore their territory. So they won in front of the court. So they stopped the exploration, but the dynamites are still there. And the threat is still there because one day or another they know that they will come back to explore the territory. So it's an awful threat. Then the conditions of life are getting worse with climate change also. So they are poorer. The nature gives less food. The soil is not the same quality. The water neither. It rains more. So for example, one family, I was living with them. Last year, there was a flood, an incredible flood. It destroyed totally their house. So they had to start again, go and cut some trees. But you cannot cut the trees in any moment. You have to wait for the moon to be like this or like that to cut the trees, because if not, after they rotten. So it's like just another process and to build from scratch, and they lost everything, because there's more and more rain and floods because of climate change. So climate change is a threat for them. So they need maybe now more things. So they need money. Maybe they needed less money before to buy more food. And so they need help from outside also. So clothes and food. But now they have food from outside, what was not the case before. They have the problem of the waste, of the plastic bags. And these things, they don't know what to do with these. And so this is like, oh yeah, now you need food from outside, but the food comes into plastic bags, and what to do with the plastic bags because nobody comes and pick it up to put in the trash. So we were thinking about all this, so the threat is all over actually, and the threat of losing the tradition also with the new generations to go. So the threat of to disappear, the community disappearance, and they exist forever, and their ancestors were here, and so it's so important. So, yeah, it's quite challenging. Mm.
Yeah, on challenges on many levels. Catalina, one other work of yours that won you recognition and prizes is the work you did in Colombia with women of the FARC fighters. You won a Global Peace Award for one of your images that we've also seen here in the presentation. Let's briefly touch on that project, because I find that very fascinating, or this particular picture. This is like a picture that encapsulates what we've been talking earlier on. It's like a huge conflict, and there's many angles that you can tackle this, but to find one picture that gives you pretty much all the information, like the protagonist, the woman, the pregnancy, and the conditions that they live in the forest, with the mud, with the dirt all around and all that. So it's, congratulations on that prize and on that picture. Can you tell a little bit what this picture means to you and about the project?
Yeah, it's this picture, I did it randomly. I just saw that moment, and I took two pictures of that moment. It was not one character kind of that I was following. But then when I came back home the first trip in Colombia, and I edited my images, I was looking exactly for an image that could summarize my project. And that was not that easy, because I had pregnant women, uniforms, but then I didn't see the jungle. I didn't see the military camps. So how can I tell that they were fighters? So I need a woman with uniform in the jungle with baby or pregnancy. And then I found out this picture, but I didn't know who this girl was. And so I sent this picture to my other friends, my contacts in the camp with WhatsApp. They do have WhatsApps in the jungles. And so they say, oh, do you know that girl? And so I got her contact. So I wrote to her saying, I took this picture. Can I use it? Da, da, da. And so we start knowing each other by WhatsApp and audios. And so for months we have been in touch. And she started telling me about her life in audios, about her childhood, at what age she entered the FARC. And so we create a real connection. And then she became one of my main characters. So when I came back, I was sleeping in her house because she built a house after that, in wooden house. And the year after, I went in his house because she make it bigger. And now, last week, she called me. She has another baby. The baby was born this summer. So I'm following them, and so, yeah, it's, I think Olga represents a typical FARC woman that arrived really early age in the FARC because they have a rupture in the family, and then they were looking for kind of second families, and the community of FARC could bring them this, and she didn't get pregnant, during the guerrilla times. The woman couldn't get pregnant. And if they got pregnant, they had to abort, even in late pregnancies, or abandon the baby. And this is the case of almost all the FARC, but not Olga. Olga just took her contraceptive injection, and that worked properly. But she was one of the first ones having a baby just after the peace agreement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With this project in Ecuador that we talked about, you had a contact beforehand that made things a little bit easier for you to enter the community. I imagine in the project with the FARC, it was very different. And if you imagine like it's a guerrilla force, it's not like the most pleasant environment at first thought to enter. A very rough man. I mean, they've been fighters, and now after the peace agreement, you took on this assignment to document what the situations for the women like and what has changed. Now they can become pregnant and get their children and all that, but still they were fighters. What was it like in this case to get access to them and to be able to enter this?
Yes, you're right. I think the adventure starts when you have an idea, and all the process from having the idea and putting it in practice and going to the field, it's already for me an adventure. We do have in our work what we call the fixers, which are local people that they have this job of helping journalists to have access, authorization, and all these kind of things. So when you don't know the country and you want to go there, you call a fixer, you try to get in touch with a fixer that can help you locally. But you have to pay them. And Colombia, at the beginning, my first trip, I didn't find a way to produce this story. So I took my saving accounts, which I don't do very often because we are not rich. But I don't know what happened. I really believed in that story, and I knew that story has to happen now because all the FARC that were in the middle of the jungle were gathered in 26 different camps, transition camps, while they were going to give back the weapons and the uniforms, and then they open the camps and they can go in the civil life, And when this will happen, that they have no more weapons, no more uniforms, and the camps are open, they will disappear in the society, and they will be like you and me, dressed civil way, and visually I won't be able to tell the real story. So I knew that they will give away the weapons in June, and we were already beginning of May, and I was like, this has to happen now, because in August there won't be military tents, no weapons and everything. So I don't know, I took my money and I have 1,200 euros in my saving account. The plane ticket was like almost 900. So I couldn't pay a fixer, and the fixer were really expensive. It was like 150 per day of all my days of stay. And I tried to negotiate, no way. So I managed with my contacts, friend of a friend of a friend, like the chain. And I had access to 3 camps. And the way how to reach the camp, because this is also like the Ecuadorian thing, is really remote areas. And so I could manage like this. And of course, people were saying to me, aren't you afraid to go to see these people that have been 53 years fighters in the guerrilla? But not at all, actually, because they were making peace, so they were in another state of mind. What will happen? They didn't accept any journalists when they were in a jungle, but now they were in a positive attitude towards society, and they agreed. So they want to communicate about this positive thing. So I was really not afraid at all. And anyway, in Colombia, everybody has been a fighter somehow. There's so many armed groups, invisible, So once you get out, you go to rural areas, you always have this risk of FARC, ELN, paramilitaries, other armed groups. So FARC were the ones that were less scary than, frightening, because they were doing the peace. So I was just documenting peace. So it was wonderful.
How do you generally go about the issue of danger and risk-taking in your work?
I try to be the more careful I can. I think the advice I give to young people, young photographers that they want to be photojournalists, first, very often they think that photojournalism is conflict journalism, war photography, which I really try to tell, no, journalism is not only war. It's storytelling, which is interesting. So storytelling is everywhere, even in your street. So really, and I think young people don't have to go to conflict zones too early, too young, without experience, and because this is not a game, and this is very dangerous. And so you need to know the country, you need to have the right accesses, you need to have money. When you go to conflict areas, like Yemen, for example, I've been during the war, it's very expensive. The more dangerous is a country, the more expensive it is to produce a story. At the beginning in Yemen, I used to go 3 months and stay at people's houses. And then less and less time, because I had to pay the most secure hotel. So it's $100 a day. And then you cannot take just taxis in the street, because you need a driver to your security. So it's 100 a day. And then you have the fixer and the translator, because it's Arabic. So it's 100 a day. And then you have somebody protecting you with weapons. And it's another 100 a day. And so it's very expensive if you want to have your own security. So you cannot go like without assignment, without insurance, just let's go there. No, So I think the access is very important to know. For example, I wouldn't never go to Syria because I don't know the country. I don't have the local accesses that I can trust to. So it's not, I don't know. So I think, and then there's this big danger of war photography, but then are the other dangers that are in a lot of countries that are not in an open war, Colombia has his dangers. So I wanted to come back and I had to cancel so many times because the situation is not really okay. And because I go to zones that can be more dangerous. So I wait that the situation is better. It's very changing situations in this country. So you have to be very aware, be in contact with local journalists, read about the country and have local accesses that they say yes or not. So now I have all my FARC contacts that they are local and, you have to be aware in how to talk to them with the phone and everything. But you take your time. It's not, so I try to go whenever the situation is okay. And then when you are in the field, I think there's something that you learn just with life and you don't learn in any school and nothing. It's just this sixth sense, that you need to have. And how you build this is just by experience and life. So that's why I think when you are 18, 20, it's difficult to do conflict things because sometimes you think a situation is okay and you go. And I do have a measurement tool in my unconscious that sometimes I don't know why I think this is not okay, and when it's not okay, I don't go. Yeah. And how this is not okay, I don't know, but this protected me, and when I start being afraid, it's time to go, I don't like working when I'm afraid anyway, too much afraid, so once I'm afraid, I hate this, and for me, it's my tool, my red light opening, and I think it's time to go. And so I go the same day if I can, and that's it. So this you just develop with life, and traveling and experience. So yeah, it's not a game anyway. So just in any picture, it's more important enough to put you in danger anyway, I think.
Not to put your life on the line, but it's a matter of intuition and experience over time that gives you this compass that tells you when to go and when to leave. One last question, Catalina. You mentioned there are some things that you can't learn at school. You studied at the ICP, which is a very renowned school for photography. What is it that you took away from your studies there?
I went to ICP, but I didn't do the whole year program, which was very expensive. But I did in few years. I took classes and I did my own program. I think I earned quality of photography, technical of development. I spent a long time in dark rooms in that moment. So now I'm digital, but it gave me a sense of color, of quality, of grain, of all this that is very important now, I think, and of Photoshop too, how to work on my images. And then I started doing my first story with a photojournalism class, storytelling class. And then it was my first step to what is telling a story visually. So every week you work on a subject, and every week you show your images to a photojournalist. They criticize, and the next week you go, and the next week you go for 10 weeks. And I think this is amazing. And I would like to give this kind of lessons for 10 weeks with somebody work on the subject and come and it's like, no, look, this is too repetitive. You are telling the same thing. So you have to tell another situation. So they go back, they do, and actually you see the result. Okay. So then all your pictures are in the same distance with the persons. There's no rhythm. Come back and try to come closer. And they come closer. Okay. And little by little, each week you can give a different advice. And at the end you have your first body of work. So that was really an important step in my photography life, of course.
Yeah, so the foundation you learned there, the technical aspects, and then, all the things that we talked about that you really can't learn at a school. It's the experience of life. You have to go out there, find your stories, and find your own way to tell them. It's been, extremely fascinating talking about your work with you, Catalina. I truly enjoyed it. It was a very deep dive into photojournalism. Very interesting thoughts. Thank you very much for taking your time, and good luck for the continuation of your career.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking your time and be interested in our stories,
Sure. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Ja, das war mein Interview mit Catalina Martin Chico, Fotojournalistin mit spanisch-französischen Wurzeln. Ich hoffe, es hat dir gefallen, und wenn du dieses Interview zeitnah nach Veröffentlichung hörst, sprich vor dem 30. März 2022, dann schau an diesem Tag doch ab 20 Uhr mal bei YouTube vorbei. Ich bin dann zu Gast bei Thomas Jones und spreche über meine Reportagefotografie in Buenos Aires. Den Link dazu findest du in den Shownotes. Vielen Dank fürs Zuhören und bis zum nächsten Mal. Dein Kai.